a muscle that you have to exercise.
Yeah.
You have to actually fully think about it and what you're doing and your mindset during that period of time. When you're starting to compare yourself, you have to stop it in its tracks, applaud the person, or just cut them out.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, everything we're talking about, I feel like, especially in a creative field, it does take time to really wrap your head around that full concept of, like, escaping the comparison trap, especially when there's doubt in there, when there's, like, should I be doing this? Like, especially starting out.
Yeah. And it's always their highlight reel, too. Like, you have no idea what's going on in their life. And they could be at a totally different chapter. They could be making videos for 10 years.
Yeah.
And you could be making videos for 2 years and you didn't know that. You just saw their, video that hit 1 million views and that's all you see.
Right.
Purpose in the Youth. Purpose in the Youth podcast. Welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only Bobbbaaaay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only Bobbbaaaay. Today in the house, group episode 4. Mitchell Mullins, Tyler Babin, Zack Kravits. Can we do a little? Whoa!
Hey.
That was wild.
Mitchell broke his chair right before we started this podcast, so that already gives us an idea of how this podcast is going to roll.
It's a nice start.
It's a great start. I'm glad to have all of you here today. This is going to be an iconic podcast that we're going to look back on in probably 3 and 5 years from now. Episode 115, that was January of this year. You came on the pod.
Yep.
Episode 50.
Early.
June or July 2017 in Vaynermedia. Bobby's legs shaking outside Vaynermedia, going up the elevator. Priceless moments. And then Zack Kravits most recently for 136 back in June of 2019.
Felt like yesterday.
And I'm glad to have you back, brother. Still posting on your IG story and driving. Not a fan. We're going to talk about that later. Today's topic, visual content creating. I can't put you guys in a box. You do video, you do photo, you do graphics. And I want to just go into a lot of things within that world today. And I think what's unique is you all kind of focus on a different area and have different things and can pull from each other. And it's just going to be a fantastic conversation. So let's deep dive into it. What kind of came first for you guys? Was it photo? Was it video? Was it design? What was the first kind of creative thing that pulled you into starting? And this is where it gets fun because now it's who goes.
Who goes?
Just roll. Roll.
I feel like most people go with photo first. That's always like, I don't know, anybody that I talk to who's a creative is always like, oh yeah, I started taking photos. With me, I did the opposite. I started with video.
Of course you did.
Yeah, because I'm just psychotic. I don't know.
Zach was like, well, actually, I won't say that, but he was having fun with his microphone.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep that under wraps. That was BTS only.
Go check out the BTS now.
Yeah. But yeah, I started with video first just because I was trying to make those shitty fitness influencer videos.
Oh, dude.
Trying to be somebody.
We've all been there.
Right. And then over time I got more into the artistry and the creative aspect and got into photo too. But yeah.
That's where it all started.
That's where it all started.
Yeah, I think.
Oh,
No, let's go around.
Should we go in a circle?
There's a circle.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna use like a torch. Hey, your turn.
I'm raising my hand.
I started in video also, but it was out of like necessity. I was making videos of me doing card tricks. Photo was when it got like more serious. Photo is when I was like, this can be a career path. And then it was like a weird circle ending up back in video now.
Interesting.
So like weird, all three of us, but I started in video as well.
Okay.
Just when I was younger, started making like the skate edits.
Yeah.
All the little,
Nashville, right? Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, yeah.
Skating, shredding.
Back home on the streets.
I love it.
You know how it is, but
I run
Yeah,
the streets.
that's so
Don't get it
weird.
twisted though.
oh my god.
So yeah, so it was. You said photo or video? Sorry.
Video. And then later on shoots and things, you're like, oh shoot, I might as well take some photos of this. And then, yeah. But photos, at least for me, photos never been anything like too serious. It's just been kind of a side thing for like IG or no like paying jobs.
Yeah.
You grew up in Tennessee or Nashville.
Yeah.
You grew up in Tallahassee, Florida, Lincolnshire, Illinois. Do you feel like that was a place that was inspiring you to keep creating, or do you feel like it lacked?
I had to get out so fast.
That bad, huh?
It was bad.
Really?
Yeah.
And I
So
had
were you
no
like-
interest in going back.
So
Yeah.
when you were starting, were people kind of like, oh, there's Babin, like with this camera, like trying
yeah.
to?
I was so weird in high school.
Yeah.
No one understood what I was doing.
Yeah.
It was like
embarrassing.
before. I wouldn't even say it's like cool now, but before it was cool or whatever
Yeah.
to go out and take videos and stuff. And like,
Yeah.
oh, you like to make movies or something? You're like,
Right.
yeah, I do. It's fun.
Yeah.
I like my entire high school career. I was sitting in a computer lab editing during lunch.
Yeah.
Like
No
one had any idea what I was doing.
Wow. You guys still went through with it though. That's what's so interesting to me. Still followed through with the passion, even if people aren't like giving you that support or love, or you're not in a city that's providing you with all that inspiration.
Well, there's a reason you're doing it. Like, there's a reason you're sitting during lunch.
Right.
And like, no one's just gonna do that randomly. It's because it's fulfilling.
Yeah.
Like,
For
it's
sure.
hands down.
It's all that it's I had a vision of like what I was building. And so I didn't care if I was the dorky kid through high school.
But now you're a rock star if you do it. If you guys have seen that
Oh, for
change,
sure.
you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like it wasn't cool maybe 8 years ago, but now it's like you're like the modern day rock star if you're touring with some artist and taking video and photo for them. You know what I
Right.
mean? And
Why do
it
you think
didn't
that?
used to be
Why
that
do you
way.
think that shift happened?
Social media?
Yeah.
Just because
Because
social media.
that was gonna be my question. Is it the actual art of like making things that's made you cool, or is it the access that a camera gives you? And then that access allows you to show the world that like you're doing a dope thing.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't
think
know.
a
I think it's a
camera-
combination.
Yeah, for
maybe.
sure, for sure.
I think if you can operate a camera, it is aside from podcasting, it's one of the best assets to have and to have a skill at, because everybody needs photo and video. Everybody needs somebody to shoot their content, and if you can bring a quality product, you can shoot for an artist, you can shoot for entrepreneurs, you can literally deliver your service to anybody. So I feel like it's just such a good tool to have if you can master like the actual craft.
And like, same thing, if you can do video, a lot of times you can do photo. And that branches into like, then you become an editor, then you become a DP. You can do you can wear so many hats, and it gives you leverage in a way. Of like, you can do a lot of things.
Were there any certain opportunities early on that kind of gave you the confidence that you were onto something that like you could possibly make a career out of following this creative world?
Kind of. It's always like kind of blurry in a way. At least in the beginning, like, I'll just speak from coming out of high school. It was like, I just something I enjoyed and wanted to keep pushing at, but you don't like know the fine details up front. You know, you're just like, okay, I enjoy this. I'm gonna keep pushing. I see that there's opportunity, but you're not like definite or sure on like where you're gonna end up. So it's, I don't know. It's not a blind leap, but I don't know. I'm not sure yet.
Well, I think it like starts with, at its core, it's like you were passionate about it. So
Yeah.
you'd still be making videos and shit for
Of
fun,
course.
even if it wasn't how you were making your living.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So it's like you sort of keep pushing through that direction, even if you don't know you're going to be able to make a career out of it, because it's just fun for you to do.
Because that was something I justified for a while before, because I went to film school for 6 months. And going into that, I was originally going to go try to get a business degree. And it was like, I justified to myself a little bit, and I was like,
Been there, done that.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm always going to do photo and video on the side.
Yeah.
Or like, this will always be my kind of passion side thing. And then I think it's, okay, so maybe it's access, just seeing people make a living off of it. Like, once that becomes available to you and you're like,
Yeah.
it opens this whole other world. You're like, whoa, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could do this. And then you're like, I want to go in that direction.
Right. You wouldn't know unless you saw somebody else doing it on YouTube.
Right.
Like there's so many
fair enough,
different, like different job opportunities and stuff you wouldn't even think of. But because somebody's doing it on YouTube and you're watching it and it's behind the scenes and it's personal, you're like, oh shit, I could do that too. Yeah.
I feel like the internet just gives us so much opportunity to actually follow through with doing this. I mean, look at this. We're literally in my bedroom. Like the Bed Rudy, we're shooting a podcast where 10, 15 years ago, I would have needed a $10,000, $15,000 budget just to afford cameras, lights. Like the internet itself is just providing people that are authentic with it. Like they're showing people the process of how they're making things happen. And it's just inspiring other people to start and actually follow through with doing the actual thing. And you ended up dropping out of school. Did you drop out of school too? I knew Mitchell did. You dropped out too. I know you
Sure
went
did.
through all the way. You went through.
Sons of bitches.
Damn it! Shout out to college loans.
He's like, how could you?
But you dropped out 6 months of film academy. How long were you at Tallahassee Community?
I mean, I mentally dropped out like 7 hours into the first day,
Wow.
but I stayed enrolled for like a year and a half.
Mentally dropped out.
Mentally dropped out.
Yeah. Yeah, I was enrolled for a year and a half, but I stopped going to classes pretty quickly.
Yeah. How was it going to your first film class?
So I never even made it to a film class because I failed. I failed
Mentally
my
dropped out.
Just see ya.
I failed my first photography class and was like, you know what? I'm not gonna play this game. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like school can really ruin that passion. Like, yeah, I mean, if you get a bad professor or like get bad kids and that,
Especially when it's like something creative because it's so subjective.
yeah.
You know, like how can you grade a photo I take or a video I
Right.
make because you don't like it, but
Yeah.
it plays well on the internet.
Yeah.
You know,
Like, how are you
Yeah.
going to put your objective
Yeah,
grading
right?
score on my art? How
Yeah.
could you do that? You know?
Right.
I feel like that's even with reading, right? In high
Yeah.
school, you're growing up, you're forced to read these books that nobody wants to read, and then it isn't until you actually pick up a book that you're actually interested in,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you actually like doing it. It's
I
the same
found
thing
that
with,
as a
with-
rediscovery as well.
Yeah.
Like, dude, elementary school, middle school, I was reading every day. And then high school, hated it.
Yeah.
Because you're, like, forced to read.
Yeah.
And then coming out of it
Exactly.
now, it's like rediscovering what it actually looks like to sit down with a
Right.
book. And you're like, wow, I love this.
Because you're shortcutting to the fun stuff, and in school, you go through all of the boring history,
Right.
the stuff that you don't really want to learn right away, and it just turns you off.
Yeah.
there's
automatically.
this Kanye quote. I forget what it is, but it's like college. Like no matter where you're at in your college career, you have to wait a year before you can do the thing you want to do.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah.
like so much
Sick.
friction getting to what you want.
Yeah. Aside from, obviously, I'm guessing YouTube tutorials has been a huge help for you guys getting better at your crafts. What other tactics or ways have you gotten better?
Meeting other people. That's like,
Yeah, it's huge.
hands down, it's the people in your life. Like
Meeting
the
other
you-
people that are better than you.
Yes,
You know?
yes.
Yeah.
And then like
And
inspire you,
just
that
asking them
push
questions, like,
Yeah,
how do
just-
you do this? How do I do that?
Even just shoot, like if it comes to video, just shooting with other people.
Yeah.
And then you're like, whoa, I didn't know he did it that way. Because sometimes you get so locked in your ways of doing things, and the only way to grow is to see another point of view, and then adopt that or make up your own mind on it. You know?
Yeah, you just have to. You don't even need the person to tell you, like, or ask them what are you doing here, like. You know, you just have to study them.
Yeah.
You know, like when you do like photo shoot walks or just, I don't know, creating video content, like you just have to study what they're doing. And I've learned so much from some dope creators in New York City and like all over the country and the globe, and just watching them, seeing something that I didn't see, like a certain like composition or
Yeah.
just something, you know, it's like, oh, shit.
What's really, I mean, call it inspiring, but like when you're with someone and you have that moment of like, oh wow, I didn't know you could think like that, or I didn't know that you could even like look at something this way, and it just like blows your mind.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's huge.
Would you say you guys even do that, just consuming other people's content? Like you see something in a video or a photo that's edited and you're like, oh wait, I could actually take that and add this and add that, and kind of like getting inspiration from it?
Yeah, but it's got to be the right content, because especially with like scrolling through Instagram, like I was just in Turkey and I was with this really high level celebrity photographer, Nick Onken.
Okay.
Super dope.
High quality content?
Very high quality content.
It was such a subtle flex. It was just like I was just in Turkey and I was doing this thing.
with this photographer, this world renowned.
No big deal. No comment. I'm just gonna stop. Fuck. What was I saying?
You were in Turkey
You
with
were in
Nick
Turkey.
Onken.
Celebrity.
Seeing
I was in a
Yeah.
helicopter. Yeah, we know.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
Like inspiration, like seeing other people's content and then drawing
their
like
process,
ideas,
like,
seeing their
what are they doing?
process. You were shooting with him.
What were we talking about before that?
Mitchell learning.
I was talking about whenever you like talk to someone. and you're like, I didn't know you
yeah.
could
I'm
think like
sorry.
that.
I'm sorry.
okay.
So I guess that was
We're
just a
backtracking.
flex.
We
That
got
was
you.
just a flex.
Don't worry.
I didn't mean to
We
flex.
got nothing but time for you, Zach.
We
We're here
brought
for you.
Zach. Brought Zach
This is
down
Zach's
to
podcast
earth.
today. Okay, there's 4 of us in the room recording, but this is your podcast.
I apologize. I forgot what I was gonna say again. Fuck. I'm out. No, it's just when you're scrolling through Instagram, you're seeing a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily inspire you, and it can it can mold your work in a way that you don't want it to, especially with Instagram. Like if you're trying to shoot a certain style, like a GQ cover magazine, like you're not going to see that on Instagram. You're going to see like the wide angle landscape shots, and it can start messing with your eye and your creative vision. So I think it's super important to just follow and study the content that really inspires you, and make sure you're not like looking at a lot of other people's content.
Yeah.
And like just taking complete breaks. I'm doing a bad job of this, but I'm trying to consume as little as I possibly can right now.
Yeah.
Like I just want to know what's going on in here and
100%.
not pay attention.
It's like pull all the weeds, all the distractions, and just be like,
sure.
what's the actual, like what's going on?
Because I think like what you're saying, you subconsciously adopt styles.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? If like all I'm doing is watching your videos, my videos are gonna start looking like
which
your
is
videos.
which is interesting, consuming in that way. But also, I find it interesting the people you shoot with. And then people you hang out with, you also start to adopt their filming and shooting style, which can be good if you're learning. Yeah. But also if you're trying to like develop your uniqueness, sometimes it can get in the way.
Yeah.
Which is another interesting way to look at it. Yeah.
Have you found it to be helpful? Like whatever, like what are you taking note of like trying to do less of, like specifics? Is there anything?
Instead of like if I'm feeling uninspired, I go to Instagram or YouTube and start like consuming stuff. It's more so like put music on, get away from digital, like sit down with like a notebook and just sort of like see where my ideas are taking me, and then start there. Because it's sort of like similar to like reading a book, right? Because you create the images in your head. Yeah. Like I want to do as much creating original ideas in my head as I can right now.
But still get like that, like the music kind of gets a vibe in you, writing gets the creative like juices flowing.
For sure.
Thinking differently. I like that, like less digital. Yeah. Every time it's like, start to get a little crowded in your mind. It's like I'll just like put Instagram away, don't watch YouTube, all these things, and just try to like be as bare minimum with it as possible.
100%.
In 2019, what do you think are the ingredients to creating content that connects with people? I know you've had a real transformation. Your video that did 1.1 million. You had recently, I quit my dream job at Vaynermedia, which was at 400,000 views. Mitchell's got something I'm sure brewing up soon enough.
Just you wait.
And I'm not downplaying. I'm not downplaying. Your content is phenomenal, so know that I'm not downplaying. But are there certain things that you look for when you're creating content in the hopes that like this is gonna connect with people? Like what is the thought process and the ingredients of making a piece that is going to connect with people and hopefully drive the 1 million or 500,000 plays?
Authenticity. Just telling real stories.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's great that we're finally getting to a point where like renting a G-Wagon to go take pictures on the weekend isn't becoming as cool as it was a few years ago. Like people want to hear real stories.
Yeah. Like people have like they've learned past that. Yeah. Like you can see through it so much easier now because you've seen it 1,000 times.
Yes.
And that's both of those pieces of content. The transformation, phenomenal. You literally documented how many days?
I think it was like 4.5 months.
Yeah, 4.5 months.
Yeah.
Literally
Insane.
Picture every day showing your body transformation.
Yeah.
And then you talking about literally quitting your dream job of working at Vaynermedia. Like both of those pieces were couldn't be more authentic. Couldn't be more real.
Yeah. I think it's more important to just think about the person that you're speaking to with your videos. Like I used to just think about myself, like how am I looking in this video? How am I talking in this video? But instead, I've switched it. And I'm like, how is this helping somebody with what they're doing? Taking a step back and looking at like 3 years ago where I was at, which was not where I am now, luckily. And looking at that older version of myself 3 years ago and trying to teach that old version of myself from 3 years ago.
So you're always like keeping that Zack in mind, like the one you were 3 years ago of like, I'm still creating for that person.
So now I'm just thinking about the people and I'm not thinking about me anymore, really. And that's been huge. And I honestly, like, I don't really care about the views anymore. I mean, I do, but like, I really care if I think it's like helping people, and I know that just from getting DMs and stuff like that, and like just knowing that I'm making an impact that way. That's just been more fulfilling to me. So yeah, I don't know.
I mean, well said.
It was well said.
Mic drop.
Zach leaves the chat.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, that's the key, right? The authenticity. I think that's also too how we got into the whole showing, like the behind the scenes of like every guest that has come into this studio, Bedrudio. And that's something that I really learned a lot from you guys when you were working with Gary, was like the the documenting the journey, documenting the process, and how amazing it is now that I can go back and like see some of these old videos of like meeting people for the first time. Like it's gonna be amazing in 3 or 5 years when we look back on that vlog, like everyone showing up in the this thing with the mic and the chair breaking. Like it's just cool to show like the whole process, and like there's no cookie cutters. There's not like we got sick cars pulling out. You know what I mean? It's just like this is the real shit. This is where the real shit happens.
And we're in your bedroom.
And we are literally in my bedroom with my bed.
Yeah,
flipped
where
up.
is your bed, by the way?
It's right there. Dude, there's not much room, bro. It's flipped up. You can't see it. It's kind of like hidden, but it's right there, dude.
It's like a jail cell.
It's right there. In our podcast, I had asked this question, and I would be curious also to get your take on it too again. But how much has your relationship with perfection changed with creating? Because I think in the beginning it's very overwhelming, and it might still be today as you're going through the process of creating something. But I would imagine with time that you've gotten much more confident in knowing like this is good enough. Because clearly in 6 months to a year you might look back and go, I should have done this, I shouldn't have done that. But how has your relationship changed with perfection of creating as time has gone on?
I mean, that's always a back and forth one. Like, I don't know. I mean, sometimes even still to this day, you can be so hard on yourself with perfection and being like, no, this has to be better, better, better. But at the same time, knowing that you're always going to be growing, and that always when you look back a few months, you're going to be like, oh, I could have done this better. Could have done this better. But like, you don't live in a few months from now. You live in now.
Yeah.
So it's like, put out your work, do your best, set time for it, move on, get better. Because you can't get better unless you put your work out and finish it.
I was going to say the same thing. You look back at your work maybe even 6 months ago and like you kind of cringe at it. I mean, some stuff, I mean, maybe a little bit longer, like a year, 2 years back, like you cringe. I cringe, and I just know that, you know, as long as I just keep progressing, like who cares about perfectionism when I'm just going to be getting better over time. And you just keep looking back at your work and knowing like, oh wow, that sucked. Like I'm doing a good job then. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What does your bio on your YouTube say?
I try to make my next video better than the last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I live by that.
That's all it is. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's all I got.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
What they said.
Yeah.
No, I'm going through a very strange phase right now where I was exactly where you guys were, right? For like the last 5 years of my career. And now like I've gone through such a weird shift. I feel like I'm almost like at a beginner again where I'm trying to perfect everything.
Yeah.
Like every video I'm like, fuck, there's so much pressure on this
you got
video.
a new audience now. Right?
Exactly. And I think
you got a lot of people looking
that's
at
the thing
you.
I'm trying to let go of.
Yeah.
Because I hate it. I want to just throw everything against the wall again. But I feel like now I'm really overthinking.
Because in that overthinking, sometimes like with that point, it might be who you're creating for.
Yeah, for sure.
In a sense of like mixing perfection with, are you creating for yourself or creating for your new audience? Like, where's the authenticity in that?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
What do you think has been the biggest leap that you've had to overcome now that with that whole transition of going from working the dream job, working and creating for, you know, a company to now it's like with Adobe, I feel like you have complete creative control to an extent of like you could literally now to most people that sounds like the dream job, and I'm sure it is, but at the same time there's so much pressure. Dude, like there's no
scary as hell.
That was the thing is I remember those last like couple months at Vayner, I would be like sitting at my desk and I'm like, I have so many ideas, like so many videos I'm gonna make as soon as I'm done here, like daily videos, daily podcasts, daily everything.
Yeah.
And then like the first day I woke up in the morning, I was like, I have no idea what to make. And like that first month was tough.
Yeah.
Of like there's so many options that it becomes paralyzing. Like I think a lot of creatives don't realize how much you sort of need a box to play in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know?
like a fire under your ass, like your back's against the wall and you have to go do something, get it done. There's no
for sure that, and then I like literally just creative rules, like having a creative brief, someone providing you is a great starting point, as opposed to whenever you wake up and you're like, okay, I have to come up with the idea, the brief, I gotta go shoot it, I gotta edit it. It's all about me. I'm uncomfortable, like you just sort of spiral.
Yeah,
you know.
That's
been the hardest part about like kind of stepping out on my own.
That kind of segues into the next thing I want to talk about was like you all essentially work for yourselves now. What does your creative process look like? Are there certain hours of the day that you work best? Do you try to map out a week, like what you're going to be shooting? What does your creative process look like? Because there has to be some type of structure that helps you get shit done in a timely manner.
There's definitely a structure, but I think And I mean, we're all at such different places
Yeah, we
too,
all have
and like how we
different
operate,
process,
and
yeah.
it changes all the time too. There's still a structure all the time, but it's so different. Like, I mean, right now I'm waking up and hitting Starbucks right when it opens, and like every day it's like, okay, edit for 5 hours, do this, knock out, go to the gym, you know, like whatever. But it's like it wasn't like that a few months ago. It was different, you know? And like when you're traveling too, or even you're on the road, or you're in New York or LA, it's like you have to change it up and adapt.
Yeah.
So
I'm the same. Like when I'm in New York, I'm up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, like
Yeah.
straight to my desk, and that's like when I feel most creative. But then I've been in LA, and for some reason I'm sleeping so late. I don't know why.
the LA
I'm like, that's why I can't move here.
It's the LA effect.
Like everything
Nobody
is
works,
sort of
dude.
like I know.
Welcome to LA.
Yeah.
Nobody works. Everybody just
Get up when
sleeps.
you want.
quit your dream job. Don't work.
Sign up today.
Yeah, I think it's important to have structure. I know when you're traveling, like that's totally different, and you have to like recreate that new kind of structure. But for me, like what really helps, because I go back and forth between creating and like emails and like just back end business type stuff, I have to set like content days in my week. Like Monday's a content day, Saturday's a content day, and you know, Friday's a email admin day. Like if before I was going back and forth between the two, and it took so long for my brain to readjust, because it's totally different thinking. Creativity, you need that space to just kind of, you just can't time block with creativity. It comes, it goes, you know. With admin stuff, like, you know, you can just get that done, but going back and forth is a real struggle. So I like to separate it out that way. It's huge.
Because when it comes to structure, I feel like maybe the right conversation to answer that question would be about priorities and discipline instead of, because it
Yeah,
changes
of
all the
course.
time. So it's
Yeah.
like, what are, like, those are your priorities, not necessarily your structure. So it's,
Always changing.
always changing.
Always changing. What do you think has been one of the biggest life lessons you've learned from creating that you kind of remind yourself of daily?
It's gonna take so much longer than what you think it is.
Yeah.
The amount of times people say like, hey, video coming out Wednesday, and it comes out like Friday, like, you know what I mean?
Or like 3 months later.
Or 3
you know?
months later.
Like-
Well, that's just you, Babin. That's just you.
Oh God.
Throwing some heat. Yeah, patience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, just like in terms of not only the actual like creating, editing process is super long, but building any sort of traction.
Yeah.
Takes
Which
a
again,
long
that's
time.
why like I always come back to like you have to do it for the right reasons. Like do it because you genuinely love doing it.
Yeah.
Because if you just want to like be Insta famous tomorrow, that's 0.00001%.
Yeah.
The rest of it's gonna take 10 years to gain it.
But everybody wants to be Insta famous. Everybody.
Everybody wants to be
That's why I got started.
Yeah.
These people are doing it. Wow, that looks nice.
I want to be a YouTube vlogger.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part, is just accepting that it's going to take a long time and trying to find like love in that whole process of like getting through it and just following through that vision. And I mean, I it really inspires me, like somebody so young who starts to figure it out. Like, dude, you dropped out of college. Like at 19, bro, I didn't know.
I didn't know who I was.
I was
Starting to
If you
figure it
asked me
out.
what the
Still
dream
figuring
job
it
was, I was going into. I was literally my sophomore year of college. I'm going to college because I need to get a corporate job. I need to climb the ladder. I need to drive a nice car. I need a nice watch. Like my mindset, but I was still just like so just like lost. And it's just like inspiring when you find people like yourself, even you. Like I mean, the fact that. How old were you when you went to the creative lab?
Creative Life.
Yeah. How old were you when you first went there?
18.
See, that's crazy. And you have footage of that, of like going there for the first time, and then you're back there 7 years later. Like it takes a long time. Like there's no other way to say it. You know what I mean? Like we all hear it and we all see it, but we just expect that it's like, oh, it's gonna happen next month. It's gonna happen.
I literally looked up this morning. Every now and then I'll like scroll through old YouTube videos just to like see the journey going down. Went to like an old channel, older channel, and it was like videos dated 11 and a half years ago.
Wow.
And I was like, dude.
And you were uploading 11 and a half years ago.
Yeah. And it's like, the amount of time is so long. Yeah. And it's like, especially talking about like even like the micro, when things get hard or difficult, you just always have that in your mind. You're like, and then after this, it's gonna keep taking a long time.
Yeah.
But it's just because you love it.
Yeah.
And it pushes you through, and you're like, oh no, I'll keep going.
Wow.
So like we were just having the conversation the other day of the like, when are you gonna blow up comment? Just like, I don't fucking know. At some point,
Wow.
You know?
You want to?
It's like the best comment at first,
Right.
And then
They
like
believe in me, let's
4
go.
years down the road, 3 years down the road, it's like, if you say that again,
Yeah.
I'll fucking find you and kill you.
Why haven't you blown up yet? I don't know. You want to tell me? I haven't figured. I'm
Blow
like
me up.
looking at my clock, still haven't blown up.
You want to share this video?
You want to ignite this fire?
Yeah, share the fucking video.
How do we do this here?
Yeah, I know. People. That's just the ignorance. People. They don't give a shit. What's one of the biggest checklists that you'd like to cross off by the end of 2019 creatively? What's something you're
Why are
really
you
working
looking at
on?
me right now?
I try to like change it up. Sometimes looking at Mitchell, sometimes looking at Babin, sometimes I'm looking at Zack. I don't want to show love to one
He's like,
one
"Less
person or
coffee."
another.
I don't know if I have a creative. Well, I guess it's creative, but I'd like to get a my sample for Wayland bags. Yeah, I'd like to have a physical sample by around the end of 2019. Yeah.
Gotta make that happen.
Well, I'm putting it out on the podcast, so I guess I have to now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody? Anyone else?
Literally no clue whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think, again, like going back to this, like I feel like I'm a beginner all over again. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm saying to the world. You know, like
Yeah.
putting out videos, and I'm just
Like what your voice is.
yeah, like the voice and just the style of videos. Like, you know, coming out of Gary's world, like I looked at everything I had made, and I was like, you know what, this isn't necessarily the video style I want to make anymore. I want to try something new. I want to like try and reinvent a little bit. And so I don't know what, you know, the end of 2019 looks like at all.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Finding your voice, that specific message you're looking for. Not even just the style, but like, why am I making videos in the first place? Yeah. I struggle with that for a long time. Still struggle with it a little bit.
And it's like, would more of a direction come through just like pure experimenting or
For
more
sure.
thought on things?
For sure. I think the only way I'll figure it out is like going through it. Like I just need to break the perfection thing and be uploading a lot more videos and take feedback where I think I can and just continue to sort of refine. And I don't think it's going to be like one day I wake up and I'm like,
This
Got
is
it.
my style.
I figured it out.
yeah. But hopefully like end of 2019 I look back and I'm like, oh, I see the process. Like it's gotten better, which is all that matters. And can go into 2020.
Does
making
New York
videos
still
I
give you
like.
that creative spark, do you think?
No.
Really? That's
No.
interesting.
I love New York because I get so much done. Like there's such like energy and hustle, and that's why like I think I can wake up first thing in the morning because I'm like, you look out my window at any point and there's people already walking down the street. And, like,
Oh, shoot.
Like they're going.
Gotta
you know?
get going.
But I don't feel like overly inspired in New York anymore.
You change it up. Move
Change
to
it
LA,
up.
baby. Let's
Yeah, you've been there
go.
for how long now? Probably 5?
4
4 years?
Yeah.
That's a long enough time.
Yeah, and it's just like it's been chaos, you know.
Yeah.
Like I feel most creative like second to LA whenever I'm just like on the road somewhere new and I'm like editing in a random cafe. Like
So
that's
you like
where-
that better, just being out and about.
Yeah.
There's no structure. Like
For sure.
you're in a whole different environment.
I find like creativity and comfort in like chaos.
Yeah, I always find the most like leveling up or like points of clarity come after like a huge shift, whether it's in like scenery or just projects or anything.
Yeah.
Like just changing out, like you said, a cafe in the middle of nowhere.
Because I think it's like no matter how much you push to avoid it, we all fall into autopilot mode at some point.
Oh yeah,
You know, and you're just kind of like going through the motions.
Yeah.
And so it's like breaking the pattern and doing something completely new will unlock your brain to do something else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Keep
no.
you more focused too, you know. Like I separate up my day just going to a coffee shop. Like when I'm not traveling, like I get into that routine and I need that structure to actually like get all those like back end stuff done. It's not, you know, being creative, but just the back end stuff. Like you got to get that shit done. And so by like the afternoon, like, you know, you need to just change up that location, mix it up because it'll keep you more focused and keep you progressing.
Yeah,
for
gotta
sure.
hit the refresh button. If
Yeah.
you ever need a spot, you can come to the Bed Rudy. I got another seat. And you can cook up, bro. I do all my cooking right in this chair, so
There you go.
you ever want to come through,
All right.
bring us some
I'll
coffee.
hit you up. I'll hit you up.
I'm gonna regret offering that over
Yeah,
here.
you are.
Hey, dude, I'm outside. Can I come in? Can I come in? I had 2 fan questions that I thought were pretty good, so we're gonna fire these up. Shout out to my man Lloyd. He asked, Have there been any personal relationship? Have any of your personal relationships suffered because of focusing on your craft? Babin's smirking over there. He's smirking.
I mean, we're all nodding our heads. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, anyone who's like passionate about their thing. Like,
yeah. Especially you from, what was it, 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. you were in Vayner for that first year?
Yeah,
that suck period,
or
whatever you
the
called
first like chapter of whenever Daily Vee actually was like Daily Vee. I was getting memory cards at 9 o'clock at night, would edit until 4 o'clock in the morning, go sleep for a few hours, was back at the office by 8, edited through the day. We'd post the episode at 4 or 5 in the afternoon. I had a few hours to chill, and then at 9 o'clock I was getting memory cards again. That was 7 days a week for a year. And I had a girlfriend through that process.
Oh my God! God bless her soul.
Yeah.
Damn.
I can't believe she's with you. Well, that's how you know. That's how you know she's the one.
She was there through all. She was
That's
there
right.
through it all.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Man.
I mean, I've been with my girlfriend since the very beginning, this whole creative camera journey. And, like, it was interesting. Like, you know how you have that honeymoon period when you get into a new relationship?
Mm-hmm.
I had the honeymoon period like much later in our relationship. We like started off like we were fighting, like yelling at each other, just like all this shit.
Yeah, I wonder whose fault that was.
Oh, you know who it was. And but we got through it, and like it just took a long time and a lot of communication. That was the key, obviously, communication. But yeah, just constantly talking like, hey, I have to do this, but you know, she has her needs as well, and like I had to find some sort of balance there and make it work. And so what we do now is we actually set time during the week where it's like we don't have our phones, we don't have anything, and it's just me and her.
Damn.
And that's been working really well.
Yeah, I feel like you have to set those boundaries, especially for somebody like you who is you're your own boss. You have your own schedule. You can make whatever hours of work that you want. But if you don't put those boundaries, you're just gonna keep working because there's always
the
an next
endless
project.
to-do
There's
list.
Always more.
Yeah.
There's always something you got to cross off the list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not dating anyone at the moment.
Good. Good.
Right there with you, brother.
That's good. That's really good.
Single and ready to mingle. Me and you're gonna hit the clubs after this tonight.
Let's go, Bobby.
First
Take
one's
your
on me.
time. Take your time.
No, yeah, I've got lots of time.
Yeah.
But
You're chasing every second. You know what I mean?
go, right?
Come
I gotta
on,
get
let's
out
go.
there.
Yeah.
Get on every flight.
Let's go.
Take her with
But
you.
I mean, like, yeah, I mean, you make sacrifices, like either whether it comes from a relationship or even just your friends, or like setting your priorities. Like, do I hang out with my friends? Do I work on these projects? This, whatever. And it's like, but then at the same time, like, creativity too also improves some relationships in a way, like meeting other creatives.
Oh yeah.
In that sense of like, that betters your life, I think, as well. It's like,
Yeah.
It's
huge. Networking. That's everything.
Dude, literally, that is I didn't realize when I was starting this, like I truly started this because I needed to figure out, I graduated college, I wanted to figure out what that passion was going to be next after our school. This has been the ultimate networking tool of all time.
Yep.
Like podcasting, thankfully, I mean, I've always been a people's person. I started this with true intent to create something that was bigger than myself. There was a true why. Like everything was there, but like this thing has gotten me into conversations with people that I've just never realized. Like, look at this. You know what I mean? Like this is stuff that I didn't envision happening when I started, but now that it's happening, it's like, this is fucking incredible. This is incredible conversations, incredible, people. I feel like I have like one of the best jobs in the world because I'm here just chilling. I'm like, tell me this, answer that. Okay, cool. Next, like that's just
Nah,
dude,
it's
I
a
love
lot
it.
harder. Than
this man's always like, it's easy.
Yeah,
he puts so much work.
I just started my own podcast, and you make it look very easy, and it's not easy at all. Yeah,
Thank you.
So you're very good at it.
I appreciate that. I try my best, man.
I think so. Yeah.
I said that on the last podcast too, so I'm gonna have to cut both of those sound bites. Put that out on its own video.
Yeah, there you go.
The other question was from I think Bari, I think was the name. Is there a service in demand that freelance creators aren't providing yet?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Freelance like creatives.
Yeah. Is there a service that not enough freelance creators are providing yet? I couldn't think of it. I mean, I didn't really think too much about it.
I can't think of anything right now, but I think one of the most important things you can do with anything to separate you is to really create an experience with that client. So not a lot of people think about that. They just think about like, oh, how good is this video or these photos going to be for them? But like, how good are your emails? Like, are you giving them like energy? Is this a fun experience? Are you, is your branding and your marketing, is it all super professional? Like, when I come onto this podcast, I'm having an experience, and it's a really good one. And it makes me want to come back. And there's so many podcasts out there, but how many of them are creating this kind of environment, this kind of experience? And so I think that alone, a lot of people are missing out on, and it's huge.
It makes me think of what we talked about earlier with authenticity. Where it's like, that is the experience.
Yeah.
And then taking that, it's like, you can't have a level 10 experience with like level 2 emails, a level 2 script, a level 4 post. It's like you got to bring like, it all has to be there.
Yeah. Like, I bring like a speaker to my shoots. Like, we're dancing, we're just having fun. Like, it makes them remember that experience, and they want to come back. So I think that's huge.
Yeah.
You
got to stand out somehow.
Yeah, but as of like a unique, like something different, I don't know. I'm kind of blanking right now.
Like, when it comes to a service. Yeah. I would definitely have to think on it.
Yeah. That's
otherwise
question.
I feel like freelancers, if it was right off the top of the head, they'd be doing it.
I tell a lot of people, like, you can, like, if you want to be a photographer, like, there's just a shit ton of photographers. I mean, like, shit, what do you do? I think if you get super niche, like super, super niche, like, I know somebody that does just CrossFit photography, and like, professional CrossFitters come to him for photography, and it's super niche. You could do like gay weddings. Like, how many just like designated gay wedding filmmakers are there? Not many. Like, just get super niche with it.
Yeah, because a lot of the like topics that people shoot on are quite broad, so it's like narrowing it and being. I mean, that comes down to just like being super good at one thing and like honing in on it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's where you're gonna make your money.
Yeah.
I literally just finished Seth Godin's book that's right there sitting. It's called This Is Marketing, and the biggest takeaway I had from that, which I knew that from the jump, but it just really reinforces like going for that smallest viable market, like not trying to appeal to the masses. Like, it doesn't bring more opportunities. It's not going to be, you're not going to be able to find all the right people. But if you go for the gay wedding or the CrossFit, like, just going all in on that and being able to say no to opportunities that actually don't fall in line with that, eventually it's gonna pay off.
You'll get all the business in the world. You're known for that one thing.
Yeah,
and you got a monopoly on it.
And the other thing too is less is sometimes better, because then you're able to, like, you'd rather have less clients at a higher rate than obviously a widespread than charging half the price.
That's huge. Yeah, like, I used to do like little $500, $600 gigs and stuff, and it's like, how much creative power do you guys have to do all those different shoots, make them different, still make them good? I'd rather do like a couple, charge $10,000, and like that's my month. You know what I mean?
Like, put everything on one project.
Right. Easier said than done, but that's what I would be striving for.
Talk about creative goals for 2019.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Yeah. There you go. It's possible, though.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I see it.
It's
been done.
What's the kind of thinking back to when you guys were all just really starting out creating, right? Like those early stages. And I think the answer to this question will help a lot of people out there. Like, what's the one advice you would give to yourself when you were just getting started? Now, with knowing what you know now.
Crickets.
Network.
Yeah.
Like, your ability to call up all these different people and push your ideas forward. Like, if I don't know how to make something happen, I probably have someone in my phone book that can make it happen. And like, recognizing it sucks, because people always ask me, like, how do I get a job with Gary? How do I get this? How do I get that? And it's hard to like force relationships. So I always hate saying like it's about who you know, but it's about who you know.
It really is.
It really is.
Yeah. But there's unique ways to connect with higher level people. Like, you can go down that rabbit hole.
As much
like,
as it's hard, there's never been a time in the world where it's easier.
Yeah.
Right? You can DM all these people.
Right.
You know
That's
what
true.
I mean?
That's true.
Like, people are always looking for friendships and relationships with other people. It's just how do you do it authentically and
Yeah.
like with the right intentions?
Yeah. I think if I were to do it over, I think I would connect with as many creators as I possibly could. Instead of going for clients, I would go and try to network with creators, because you're going to learn, you're going to get gigs that they can't do at that time. They'll pass it on to you. Like, I pass on so many gigs to people that I've talked to a lot on Instagram or that I know personally. And yeah, I think that's a nice little shortcut.
I remember how helpful that was in the beginning, like really getting traction as a freelance videographer, is having other friends who do the same thing. They're like, oh, hey, I can't do this project this weekend. Could you take it over? Or like, I don't have time to edit this. Could you do it?
Yeah.
And you're like, of course. And it just gives you more freedom.
Yeah. It's just more tools in your toolbox.
Yeah. Pass it on to other people that can take it on.
Yeah.
Eventually that's going to come back to you, that energy, or just...
Yeah.
Were there a lot of people? I'm curious now that you're not working with Gary. How often were you getting hit up with like, yo, can you give me a meeting with Gary? Can you?
Dude, I'm still getting them.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, I still get 10 a day.
Damn.
Crazy.
Wow.
People just don't get it.
Yeah. The thing that blows me away, and it's like people will just copy and paste their message to Gary and send it to me too.
Drives me crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And so I open it up and it's like, yo, Gary, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, nope.
Yeah.
Like, in what world do you think that's how it's going to work?
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there anything you miss about working alongside him or Vayner?
So, I mean, I'm still tight with everyone there. Like,
Yeah,
Gary and I are
there
still
was
talking.
no,
like,
there's no
it's-
burn or bridge that was
Yeah.
burned from it. It was
we're all like still super family.
Absolutely.
And I see them all the time. I miss like the overall energy and just like walking in every day and like seeing my friends and working with my friends.
Yeah.
But I'm super like walking out the next day I was like, that was the right move. It's time to figure out like what I actually want to be making.
put the pressure back on your shoulders. Time
Yeah.
to get back to like back against the wall. I got to figure out what the next step is.
Yep.
I like that. Any creatives that you guys would love to connect with or work with specifically?
Mitchell Mullins.
Facts.
Whoa.
Let's all travel. Let's do a trip. I'm fucking
There's
down.
an ice cream shop over here if you guys want to go for a little walk out.
Get some B-roll of that. There you go. Slow motion.
Mitchell Mullins.
No, I want to collab with everyone.
Yeah.
You know, I think I made like some critical mistakes early on in my career that I was like way too competitive with other creatives. And so
Yeah.
I would stay in my zone so much and I wouldn't
gotcha.
talk with other photographers.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm going to do it and I'm going to be better than everyone. And that's great. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago I woke up and I was like, no, I need to be homies with all these people.
Right.
You know, like we're all going to be able to like level up together.
These are
And there's
great people.
more than enough for
Yeah.
all of us to crush it.
And I think it's
Yeah.
a balance too of like trying to figure it out for yourself. Like I need to teach myself how to do this, or I need to go through this process by myself to learn. But then obviously at some point it's like, okay, I'm actually going to benefit if I'm reaching out to the photographer or the video guy or the person that's been trying to connect for 6 months. Maybe I should finally just say, all right, let's go shoot, or let's go run around town. And
Yeah.
Here's one thing I do see, call it our industry, whatever, this community, is people, like I do see some collab things, but I'd like to see more of it. I'd like to see more videographers, photographers, content creators, podcast hosts collabing with other people. Like you occasionally see it sometimes with like, I've seen it with like tutorial videos or certain things, but when it comes to like actually putting a story together, it doesn't happen very often.
So that's interesting, and it's something that's been on my mind too, and that can be kind of a conversation of like, what does that collab look like?
Oh,
because I get tons of people who will DM me or email and say like, let's collab on something, and I'm like, cool, but what are we gonna do? Because we can't just like walk out into a field and both have a camera and like,
Right.
all right,
we out here.
let's
You know what I
shoot.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like tough, like to
Yeah.
actually figure out that storyline is crucial.
Which is obviously probably the barrier to why it's not happening so often.
Exactly.
But there is a barrier there, and it can be jumped over.
Yeah.
I feel like it's also like you don't get the return as much anymore, and I feel like a lot of people aren't collaborating as much because of that. Like I know when I first was like diving into the fitness industry, like collaborations in the fitness YouTube space, at least, like people were gaining 30,000 subscribers from a collaboration, and now it's like 2,000 or something. And I think that's turning a lot of people off because they're just not getting that return. But you know, I think it's still really important in terms of networking and just connecting.
100%.
Yeah, you can learn a lot just from even just tapping into other people's conversations too, or just listening to. I mean, that's why I love podcasting. That's why both of you guys have podcasts. I'm sure you're gonna have yours coming out soon. But I think just being able to tap into conversations and hearing what people have to say, you can learn a lot from. If you could have put up a billboard, right, and millions of people are gonna see this billboard, you could have a message on that billboard. What would it say?
I just want to say at Babin. So
right? Babin 2019.
Babin 2019.
You're like Babin 2020. Make
2021.
YouTube great again.
You know what's so funny? I've been doing that as like my end card for the last few years. Where I'll just put like my last name and whatever year it is. And I was like, I can't do that next year. I'm gonna get roasted so hard.
Gotta change it up.
New look, Babin 2020.
Oh God.
New branding.
Billboard anywhere in the world though.
Anywhere in the world.
Yeah. What would it say? Don't tell me where it
Where'd
would
you
be.
get this question? By the way? Did you Google this or
Don't worry.
who are your sources?
Best podcast question.
Nah,
Actually,
actually,
I've done that before.
I got this asked on a recent podcast I was on. I was like, I'm gonna use that one and save it for later. Tim Ferriss does that. He has like a document where he keeps all these like really good questions.
Because in my mind, I'm trying to think like who's gonna be reading this billboard, like just anyone.
You want me to give you my answer and then it'll kind of spark some interest? This is the answer I gave to the kid and I still stand by it. My question, or what I would put on the billboard would be a question. Well, there's two answers to this. It'd be got beard with my face on it. You know what I'm saying? That's not the real good one though. The real good one would be a question and it would just say, would you still be doing what you're doing today if money was never an issue? And I think that would get people to really think about, are they doing what they would be doing? Because if I handed you each $10 million right now, I don't think anything changes in your life except maybe the scale of what you create. You can bring in a production team. You can take a private jet. I mean, you could bring a lot more people into what you're already doing. But I think majority of people would stop what they're doing, which I think is the problem. That's what I would put on the billboard. A question.
I think, and I don't know the exact word for it, or like words to put on, but it would be some phrase or whether it's like a sentence or something pushing towards that idea of like, what would you do if, pushing towards that mindset of like, if you did have $10 million, like why you should keep going instead of give up and just cash out. I don't know. That's a hard thing to get across to just anyone and everyone.
For me, it would be some deep question similar to yours. I'm trying to think of a quote. I can't think of it right now, but something that asks that question of like, would you be happy if this? I don't know.
Something along the lines.
Would you be happy if today was your last day? Or
something like that.
Something
really deep that makes people think about the choices that they've been making, and just big bold. Yeah. Kind of. Have you seen that movie 3 Billboards? Have you guys seen that movie? No.
When did it come out?
I think it was like a year ago, maybe 1 to 2 years ago. It's about this woman who had a daughter that was raped and murdered, and the sheriff's department wasn't really doing anything about it. Like 6 months passes, and like still they haven't found the killer and all this stuff. Yeah. And there's these 3 billboards that are just not being used, and she bought them and then put like, why haven't you found my murdered daughter, and then put the sheriff's name, and it just set this whole uproar. And it's like a really small town with like not many people.
Jeez.
It's a fantastic movie.
Okay. We should put it on the to-do list.
Yeah, put it in the show notes. It's really good.
Put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I don't know. That has nothing to do with this.
Maybe like
it's a great movie.
Maybe put it in an interesting angle of like, what if this was the only life you ever had, or something? Then people are like, what does he mean by that? And they're like, oh well, wait, this is the life I only had. You're like, whoa, kind of makes you think, something that makes you think twice.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all.
Babin's is the Babin 2019.
He's like, guys,
I'm
I'm not holding that one down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason I asked that question is I think you all do a very good job of making content that is unique. You guys are all different in your own lanes, which is why I wanted to bring you all in today. But at the core of the content that you guys create, I think you guys do a very good job of like trying to get people to go out there and do something. It's not necessarily for filmmakers or cinematographers or creatives. It's more about the energy of like doing the thing that you actually want to do. And I think you guys all do a pretty damn good job of it, whether it's visually through photos, design. I think it all comes together as that same energy, that same kind of message of like, go do it. And going off of that, you all have some beautiful tattoos on you. I want you to tell me what tattoo means the most to you.
Ooh, do we all have?
I have one.
What? Oh.
What do you have? I didn't see any tattoos.
Mine is the word alive crossed through. So 2.5 years now. I was in a car accident and we were going 80 on the interstate and rolled 6 times. And
Wow.
I did not have a
Jesus
seatbelt
Christ.
on, and I was laying down in the back of the car. It was like a 15-passenger van, and we had like there was like a bed in the back that we could sleep on, and a tire ended up blowing because we drove over the Rockies, and then sunrise, tire blew, heated up, swerved, and yeah, it's like a mark of gratitude, reminding myself that I shouldn't be alive.
Holy shit.
Wow.
So it's like anything I do, I'm like, grab that, I'm just like, right, gratitude, gratitude.
I do not have a follow-up on that. That is something special. Wow. My tattoo, I've got a couple of wolves on my arm. It's a full sleeve, and it's not really like, I like wolves. I like what they represent, but that's not why I got it. I have this thing now where when I go through a period of growth, I want to get tattooed as like a chapter, and so all these are just different chapters in my life. And I just and I also just loved the artist, and I wanted to collaborate with an artist and do something because I just loved their art. So
That's special.
that's such a like, I feel like a lot of people that are tattooed, like, what does your tattoo mean? Like that question, like I feel like it, I don't know. I don't want to say it bothers people, but it's like there's this myth that it has to mean something, and it really doesn't. Like if you just like something, get it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think what's
Fair
even
enough.
more is that there's a story behind why they got it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it has to have like this life-changing moment like that.
Sure.
I mean, that
Right.
But, like,
means
even
a lot.
that still
but
But
there's
that's
a
the
story.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
there's a
You're
story
right,
behind
you're right,
it.
you're
There's
right,
always a story
you're right.
behind why they got it.
You're right.
Which I think is just as important.
You're right. Absolutely.
Babin?
Probably Memento Mori, which is Latin for remember your death. And it's sort of just that constant, like, you only really get one shot.
Yeah.
So don't waste any extra time. And then I got it fresh off of a trip in Costa Rica where we had like 3 near-death experiences
Wow.
Man.
on one trip.
Wow.
And so I
guess
got
need to
that on
have
the
one of
last
those
day.
too.
Jeez.
Jeez. That's some real shit, though.
Crazy.
What scares you guys the most?
I mean, regret above anything. Like not making the right choices or doing things, but I don't know. Yeah,
Just quitting.
just making the right move. I just give up tomorrow. I just wake up. I'm like, I'm just done
Mails it
making
in.
content now.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah,
Yeah. I was going to say, like, the question of what if. Like, I never want to ask myself what if.
yeah.
I was thinking about it the other day. Like, if I had never moved to New York and had never gotten the job with Gary and then, like, everything that's happened since, and I was, like, still sitting in, like, my cubicle job in Florida and was, like, still thinking, like, oh, what if I do it? What if I just move to New York and see what happens? Like, I never want to be in that
Because I think that sparks a lot, like going back to like dropping out of college or anything. Like I remember sitting there being like, okay, what if I did do this and take action on it now? And that scared me more than anything. Was just like, well, shoot, do I want to be in my 20s in a totally different position and be like, what if? What if I'd done this? What if I'd done this?
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, like, a lot of times the fear on the other side isn't that big of a deal. Like,
Yeah. Or that it doesn't
like,
exist.
You're asking yourself, like, what if I drop out of college? Like, cool, drop out of college. If it doesn't work,
Go right back in. You know, they will gladly take your money.
You know, like-
any time of year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fear doesn't exist. It's not real. It's
It's a
just
perception.
that. Yeah. It's that anticipation of what could happen, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fake. It's there to. It's your brain trying to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
That's about
Yeah.
it.
I think the whole what is you just have to just not even think about it because there's nothing you can do to go back. You can only learn lessons, but sitting here contemplating like I should have done this, I should have done that. Like there's literally nothing that's helping you move forward. And it's like, what are you gonna do today that's gonna, with what you have in front of you? what are you going to do today that's going to put you one step forward? And I mean, it's important to look back and like learn from lessons and try to use that and move forward. But the whole what if scenario, I think that's one thing that has improved in my life in the last 6 to 12 months of just like, I'm not really overthinking anything anymore. And I am my biggest critic, but I'm not punishing myself to the extreme that I feel like I used to. And it's more of just like, what present moment. I'm in the moment. How can I keep moving forward?
I think maybe with that question, what if, looking forward, it brings a lot of intention, but maybe looking back, it costs too much. So that it would like, it's just not worth to think about looking backwards.
Yeah.
It's only to just like use as something moving forward, but not spend too much time debating on.
For sure.
What do you guys think your greatest strength is?
When it comes to content or people,
No,
I mean, because
anything,
it's like a
life.
wide.
Yeah, life. Anything. It could be. I mean, it could be business. It could be just you personally.
I think just keeping it going. I think,
I was literally gonna say resilience.
yeah.
I just like I don't
punched
know.
right in the face, and you're like,
I think
I'm
that's
still
what
going.
all three of you are
Cool.
very good at.
Yeah.
You're like,
Just
oh,
keep
great.
going. What we were talking about, was it yesterday? When were we doing?
Day before.
Day before?
Yesterday.
I don't know. It's all a blur these days.
Was that when the mic was on or off?
Oh, God. I didn't think that would come into this podcast, but shit, I guess it did. So, fuck me, right?
I'm sorry, I had to throw the jab.
For those
Explain for the listeners what's going on?
for those that need context, Zach and I recorded an awesome podcast day before yesterday, and none of my audio exists from it.
See, it's all about me.
He uploads it as my story.
This is my podcast.
My conversation with Babin, I talk the entire time.
And then he's muffled. You just hear this. It's
Very one-sided.
Oh, man. Shit. What were we talking about?
Strength.
Strength.
But resilience and
yeah.
you're very confident. You're very confident. I know that's one thing.
What we were talking about, the Brene Brown thing. You know Brene Brown?
Mm-mm.
What does she do again?
It's
She's just
very
a speaker,
like,
right?
Yeah, like speaker and motivational.
Yeah, I didn't
Okay.
even know who she was, and my girlfriend was watching her on Netflix, and she talked about how to handle haters and how you should not let anyone tell you otherwise if they're not putting themselves out there, which she calls the arena. Like, we put ourselves out in the arena. We put ourselves out there, and anybody can talk shit and do whatever, but you should not listen to anybody unless they put themselves in the arena. You know what I mean?
Like, if you're not on the floor,
yeah,
you
exactly.
can't say anything.
Like,
You're out in the stands. Don't just let them keep heckling you.
So, like, if Michael Jordan told you, hey, your free throw is not very good, that's going to, leave a mark versus some Joe Schmo that played in high school that quit. You know what I mean? So when I heard that, I'm like, wow, that's just common sense and so brilliant. And, like, it just packed a punch.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, we all see that all the time. Being
Yeah.
in a world of content,
Yeah.
like comments come out, here's this, here's that, and it's like, well, what do you pull from? What affects you? What doesn't? How do you move forward?
Yeah. I think the whole hating thing, you just can't. You just have to just cut it. I mean, I think us four, we're very fortunate. We're in the sense, I don't think we change the way we create based on what people might say. Like, we're all at that point in our lives where it's just like, it literally doesn't bother us. But it's crazy to me to think that, like, there's somebody that might listen to this, or there's somebody out there that literally will either stop doing something or won't do something because they're afraid of what somebody might say. Like, that blows my mind. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
it really doesn't matter what somebody. I love the arena aspect. It's like, if they're not actually out on the floor, you shouldn't listen.
Right.
And that's great. And it's just more so of just like, why would you ever care what somebody else thinks? Like, everybody's gonna have an opinion. You gotta go do the damn thing regardless. You should.
It's when they say the thing that you are thinking about yourself. Like, if you think like, oh, like, I don't know, I'm coming off cocky in this video maybe, but you still like liked it, but you just thought like, I don't know, maybe, and somebody says, wow, you're really fucking cocky, man. Like, it starts to get under your skin a little bit when you start receiving
If you fear that it's in yourself as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, it's like what else am I gonna do in my life? Like,
Yeah.
no matter
plan B? What is option
no
B?
matter like as much as, and we were talking about it, like, so since that one video like kind of blew up, have had more haters in my life than I've ever experienced before.
Really?
Like, so many shitty comments.
What are they
on
saying?
YouTube
Like,
and everything.
give me-
Just, like, I mean, there's been tons of people who tell me I don't deserve to have this residency and that I like made a huge mistake. I mean, just like you name it, it's been said to me. But in much as it like it gets under my skin, I'm like, there's not a single thing anyone can say to me that would make me stop what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow, that pisses me off, but I'm just gonna keep making the videos, you know?
Wow. Why do people care?
Who knows?
They feel entitled. I don't know.
But I feel like you're winning because they took the time to consume your content, thought processed an opinion, took time to write a comment, and then moved on with their day.
Yeah.
Like they had to really that's the way I look at haters. Like if somebody had to took the time to do the research or consume something, thought process what they want to say and then put it out there, you won.
Yeah.
You got them. You got a comment out of it. Take that. But like seriously, it's like
Like I don't think anyone's opinion that actually matters that they're hating on other people.
Yeah.
And or even the other way around of like people hating on someone. I heard this somewhere in a podcast. It was like, do you think Michael Jordan reads YouTube comments? Like, do you think he really cares?
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
He doesn't care at all. Like he doesn't. It doesn't even like touch his radar.
Right.
It doesn't even come in his world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure it doesn't need to when you're cutting checks like him. And
Yeah.
send me some kicks.
Yeah.
That's all he's got to worry about. What do you guys think your purpose is? At the end of the day.
You ask that every podcast. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I'm glad you were present in
What's going on here?
I'm gonna pause on this one.
I mean, it's like I feel like the purpose is always like you're always like adjusting it and changing it and always building on top of it. But I mean, at least for me, I always just want to live my life like as an example of someone who never gave up on themselves.
Yeah.
To inspire other people to do the same. I think that's crazy empowering to anyone, or like, you know, it's that at least someone else did that and I saw that in the beginning and that started this whole journey of content, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like if you could do that for someone else, like that right there gives you a why behind the content.
Do you feel like you had this perspective before the accident too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Because I know we really deep dived into the podcast that we did about how like that moment really changed a lot
when
of things.
it comes down to like, because we really dove into it, and there's been like 6 months since we talked about it, and you know, people ask about it all the time, different things, and looking back at it, because in life you always have these like moments of struggle or certain things, and it unlocks clarity or like certain purposes that you didn't know that you had. And just looking back at it, I think it was this very intense moment that just unlocked a lot of clarity. So it was like these points were here all along of like what was important to me, like what was fulfilling. I just didn't recognize them as much until almost lost my life, lost my best friend.
Yeah.
Everything, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Love it. Is there any, before I kind of get to the closing questions, I want to open the floor. Is there any questions or any topic anybody would like to cover before we kind of...
I'm so bummed we're like coming to the end here.
No, like,
we can keep going.
Let's go 2 more hours.
We can keep going. I mean, I got nothing but time.
I think
if there's any certain topics or any, I mean, I got nothing but time.
Okay. One thing I feel like people listening to this would like to hear is just because all 4 of us in a room are just content
You
creators.
can count you 3. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I just like content.
Who is Bobby?
Yeah,
Bobby's just here.
I'm just here to talk. You know what I mean? I'm just here to document the conversation.
Purpose in the youth?
Hit me
What?
up. You know what I mean? That's podcast of the world. Stop sleeping on me. Put some respect on my name.
Respect Bobby.
Respect me.
But I would be interested to hear like all of our takes, I guess, on the comparison trap of content, because it's inspiring, and we also talked about not looking at content and trying to do certain things.
Yep.
But when you do log on Instagram, when you do watch a YouTube video, how does that affect you as a creator? Like, and how do you overcome that? Do you overcome it? Or like, what is it?
Yeah.
It can be discouraging, very discouraging. I know in my experience, you guys might have a different experience. Like, I used to look at other people and, you know, I would play the numbers game. I'd be like, wow, like they're, you know, blowing up and like I'm still at this number, and I would just start asking like why is this happening? Why? But I feel like that's just it's very natural, and I think it's something that you really need to work on, not comparing yourself to other people. And so now I either applaud them like literally, like physically, I'm like, woo, like in my apartment and stuff, like that's amazing. Or I shut them out completely, and I put them on mute, or I don't follow them, or whatever. So it's one of the two. When I start, and it starts creeping in. It's like this heaviness on your shoulders. I don't know.
And where does this come from? In a sense of envy of someone else's content, or their success, or what they portray on Instagram?
Yeah, I think it's just the success, and it's also like questioning, like, oh, are they doing something that I'm not doing? Maybe I'm failing now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because you see this like almost super small part of their lives.
Yeah.
And then you go, wow, they're like this all the time.
Yeah.
Or they're just absolutely crushing it.
Right. Yeah.
When you're seeing one victory or a few.
See, what you had just said about if it's somebody that is winning and you're just like mad about it, those are the people that I started completely pulling out of my social media. Like, I want to only see what I like. When I look at social media consumption as a diet, I only want to be inspired. So like, when I see you succeed, when I see you succeed, I'm getting, even though you guys are doing visual stuff and that's not really my lane, I'm getting inspired because I'm like, if they had a vision for something and they're executing that shit, so can I. I can do that shit. And even other podcasters that I see getting bigger guests or bigger opportunities than me, I'm like, fuck. If they're doing it, I can do that.
Like they got them on the podcast.
I'm gonna make it happen. And I think the whole comparison trap, man, that's probably another big strength that I've tried to get better at in the last 6 months of just like I wake up every day and it's literally me versus me. I stopped consuming as much on social media. I don't know what everyone else is doing because I'm not so glued in as I used to be. Like, where are they shooting today? Who are they working with? Like, fuck all that. Like, I hope they're winning, but I need to just focus on myself. And so just like priming my mornings and getting into the creative flow so that like even when I knew you guys were coming through at 1, like I don't even know what's going on in the world because I just been so focused in on this that I've almost eliminated the comparison trap because I don't have time to consume other people's content. But really, I think the key is just getting inspired by other people, getting inspired. Like if they're eating, so can we. I think that's the key to beating the comparison trap.
Because one thing. And that's definitely something I've grown on in the past 6 months is the comparison trap and like setting it in the right bucket of like where it needs to be. And one thing I just see helps is like the more and this is like kind of what you're saying, but the more that you're doubling down on yourself and focusing on your craft and your vision, the more you're not really looking at everyone else all of a sudden. You kind of realize that everyone is pretty far apart and that everyone's on different levels and there's really no need to compare anymore. Because you're all in different places, and when you're so obsessed with like working on your craft and bettering it, it's like nothing else really gets in that sphere. Yeah, when you have this like invincible bulletproof bubble, that's
you know what helps too? Counting the 1 to 3 small wins a day. Yeah, every single day.
Like that was a win. That was a win.
The smallest thing: prepping for a podcast, getting a podcast booked, recording this podcast. Speaking to my mom, or like anything that's like a small win that I look is like pushing me forward. I literally write it down in a journal because it's forcing me to think about what I want on that day, write it down, and then use that as like fuel to keep moving.
I love you did a podcast with Charlie
Rocket.
His motto on I'm on a winning streak.
Yeah,
everything he does, he's like I'm on a winning streak. I'm on a winning streak.
Talk about like gratitude and present. He nailed it. Yeah. I got coffee today. I'm on a winning streak. Yeah. Anything.
I'm on a podcast
Tie my
today.
shoelaces. Winning streak.
Yeah. I think
his energy is unbelievable.
I love that. And then I think a lot of times we're pushed to not be like egotistical and focus on the things that make us special. But I've been trying to shift into not looking at it as like, I can't do what you do. I can't do what you do. And more be like, but I can do a lot of dope shit too. So it's more focusing on like, these are the things I know I'm good at. And I know there's things I can do that a lot of other people can't do. So let me just completely focus on my skill set and not worry about the things that I'm not good at.
It almost sounds like too of like, I don't need to become a Casey Neistat. I need to become Tyler Babin.
Yeah.
I need to become Zack Kravits. I need to become Mitchell Mullins. I need to own who I am and find that lane. Like get inspired by all these creatives and the people that I'm watching. But like I need to become the best version of myself and let that be the person. There is no comparison trap for that, you know?
Yeah.
That's a really good question.
muscle that you have to exercise.
Yeah.
You have to actually fully think about it and what you're doing and your mindset during that period of time. When you're
Yeah.
starting to compare yourself, you have to stop it in its tracks, applaud the person, or just cut them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes, like, everything we're talking about, I feel like, especially in a creative field, it does take time to really wrap your head around that full concept of, like, escaping the comparison trap, especially when there's doubt in there, when there's like, should I be doing this, like, especially starting out.
Yeah. And it's always their highlight reel too. Like, you have no idea what's going on in their life. And they could be at a totally different chapter. They could be making videos for 10 years.
Yeah.
And you could be making videos for 2 years and you didn't know that. You just saw their, video that hit 1 million views and that's all you see.
Right.
So, yeah.
There's always a story behind.
There's always some shit you can dig up.
That's a good, that's a good question. Any other topics we got? Anything that is at the top of your brains you've been wanting to speak on?
I think gaining followers is a trap. We talk about that. I don't think we've talked about that. If anybody wants to hit that off, but I think everybody, including myself, when I was just starting out, it's like everyone is trying to reach that certain amount of followers, and they think like that is the key to success. When there's people with 200,000 followers that are fucking struggling, financially, clarity wise, like so many different things. And I think you can do a lot with a very small audience.
And I don't think that a large following is a bad thing, but I do think and it depends on the it depends on the person, but it can be an illusion of success.
Yeah.
And I've seen that before.
Yeah.
People believe that they're at this certain level of like, wow, I have 300K following on Instagram, and it's like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, the more you get into it and the more you dive down and like the more stories you see of different people, it's like, what does that mean?
Right. What are you doing with it?
I don't know. Like,
Yeah. I ask myself that all the time. Like, I want 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, but one, what changes in my life the day that happens, and what am I going to do once I have that many eyeballs on me?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
then I feel like the pressure's on you even more. Then you get more people chiming in on the comments, good for
For
bad.
sure. There's more pressure, and then it's just like, what do you want it for? Like, what are you actually trying to activate?
Yeah. I think it's important, though, when you are making content, when you don't have a lot of followers, is to upload content as if you have 1 million followers.
Yeah.
I know that's talked about before, but
Yeah,
I
be
think it's
professional.
super important.
Yeah.
Yeah, super important.
It gives you, and you talked about finding your voice as well, like going through your creative journey that you're on right now. But I feel like with a smaller following, it does give you more room to play and experiment. Than if you did have 100, there might be a few more like self-critical thoughts thrown in there from the comments.
For sure. And I think, so many people are fighting to gain followers versus getting to know their followers. And that's important.
That was good. No.
What's your engagement?
I literally got a DM like a couple months ago. I was talking to someone and they were like, how do I gain more followers? And they had 1,500 followers. And I was like, how well do you know those 1,500 people?
Yeah. What are you providing them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, having a relationship with those 1,500 people is far more valuable than having a million and knowing none of them.
Yeah.
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 How did you recognize all that, Zach? Like, I don't know if we talked about the specific moment, but when did you kind of realize that shift of like, it's not really about the numbers? Because clearly you've been able to monetize and really make this into a full running business of Zack Kravits.
Because I wasn't getting the numbers. I had no choice.
This was my only option.
No, but I think it was a lot of like self-reflection and personal development, honestly. But it was also like being at kind of like a certain number for such a long time, and like that's the hand I've been dealt right now. And so just making that mindset shift of like, okay, I've got these people, like, what am I going to do with it now? And just the shift of taking it away from me and pushing it towards like, okay, what am I doing for these people? Like the people that are following me, like how can I provide, value? Again, talking about like looking at myself 3 years ago, that's who I try to talk to.
Yeah.
And just making it all about them and not being selfish and trying to make me a star. You know what I mean? Because that's what I was doing when I first started. I'm like, and most people do. It's like, how good can I look? You know, how many followers can I gain all that. Just taking it off of me and putting it on them was when everything changed.
Yeah, it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
I do love, because obviously more followers does open up certain doors in certain degrees and certain levels. But I do believe Gary said it really well one time in a video. And he was talking about, he was like, because he has like, a couple mil on all his platforms, whatever. He was like, if I was even focused on getting 1,000 or 10,000 or even 100,000 followers, he goes, I wouldn't even be anywhere close to having 1 million.
Yeah.
And so even to get people want more followers, it's like to even get 10,000, if that's your main goal, you're not going to get there.
Yeah. It's how much value you're providing. That's pretty much it. Yeah. And I've seen that already. Like, it just, first of all, it's taken so much pressure off of me, because it's like, you're not worrying about it anymore. And then you're like, oh, like I'm not worrying about that. What am I focused on now? Now I'm focused on the content, and that's
Imagine that.
Wow.
That's a crazy idea, bro.
right? Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Just reshifting where you're focusing on.
Yeah.
I think that what's really important and what I resonate with a lot is like you had said a couple times during the podcast, is like you're creating for that younger Zach. These podcasts and these conversations and everything else that I create is still for that person that was graduating with not knowing what to do next. Like, it's crazy how the world works. Like, I still vividly remember like DMing you before I came to New York to that podcast. I was literally sitting in Logan Airport in Boston, fucking checking my Instagram, came across your account, DM'd you, we conversated, and then ended up doing that podcast in Vayner. Life-changing moment. We had connected from, we were just like DMing each other, and then you came through one time for us to like literally connect, and then not even
I opened up Instagram and I saw Matt had put on his story the episode you guys did together.
Debella?
I was Como.
Oh, Como.
And I was in Indonesia in like my kitchen, and I was like, yo, I like what this guy's about. And I was like scrolling through, you had some like banger clips on your Instagram, and I was like, I gotta hit him up. Like, I'll be back for a few weeks. Like, dude.
Yeah, and then you came through, we chopped it up, and then 3 months later we ended up doing the podcast.
Yeah.
And then with you, it's like I'm trying to think of how Dalton. When Dalton was here, she kind of I had came across your content quite often for like the last 6 months, just randomly. I was like, I don't understand who this guy is, but I just like his energy. Dalton came through. He's like, yo, you got to do a podcast with Zack Kravits. And then I was like, let me go relook at this dude's content. And then it was that video where you talk about, it was right when the Blueprint course was about to launch, and you were just like, some of you might look at my account and see that I only have certain amount of followers. You might think I'm not successful. I'm like, I like this guy.
I want that guy on my podcast.
I like this guy because he don't give a fuck, and that's what I want. I want people that don't care.
That's right.
But all this to say is that it is unbelievable what can happen. I know you can all relate to why you're sitting here today. What can happen when you have a vision for something you want to create, you go all in on it, you ignore what people might say, and you just stay consistent, and you stay patient, and you believe in the process, and you just fall in love with chasing after that thing, because that is what I want this podcast to be about. This is what this specific episode has been about. Like, it's amazing that you guys all just have like these different areas of visual content creating and like doing different worlds, but still it comes together. And I literally couldn't have found 3 better guys to bring in for this conversation, because you all are super humble. The energy you put out there to the world, you guys have impacted my lives in ways that I can't even describe. So this has been an incredible conversation.
100%. So much respect for this whole table.
Thank you.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Before I ask the final question, where can people find you guys on social media?
YouTube, Instagram.
Mm-hmm. YouTube,
Just
Instagram,
our names. Mitchell Mullins.
Babin 2019.
Yo, do you notice how Mitchell dropped like a subtle travel flex too? He was like, I was in Indonesia when I saw this clip. I was just gonna be like,
in my kitchen.
I remember like, last week I was in Australia. It was super weird.
3 days. I'm actually flying. Where are you going 3 days?
Seattle.
Oh, okay. We're just in the U.S.
I'll just pull the Zach. Like, that was a travel flex.
Oh my god.
Weird flex. I did not mean to flex, by the way.
No.
I was trying to give context.
Oh, sorry guys. Yeah, I think all of us are just our names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything.
It'll all be linked up. Make sure if you guys and gals are listening or watching, go drop a bunch of bearded man emojis on their Instagrams, and they'll know you came from the podcast. Before I ask the final question, just to wrap it up, thank you so much for taking the time. You guys are all extremely busy. I think the timing couldn't have been better. You're out globetrotting around the world. You're around the country. I knew my man Zach tends to be in LA, but sometimes he's flying to Turkey with Lewis Howes. You know what I'm saying? Out here boozing
Special
up.
moment.
Out here boozing up. But I think the timing could have been great, and I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to do this. This has been fantastic. So thank you.
Appreciate you,
Thank you,
man.
man.
Yeah,
thank
we
you.
love coming back.
All right, we're gonna keep you coming back. Yeah, we're gonna keep
Not
you
too
coming
much.
back.
Not too much.
On this episode, group episode 5.
Zach pops his head up. I'm back. I'm back. Final question for you guys. What's the one advice you would give to somebody that's listening, hasn't found that passion, hasn't found out that purpose just yet? What's the one advice you would give them?
You're not going to find it by thinking about it.
Yeah.
Damn right.
By that and just not giving up on yourself.
Yeah.
Because the moment you give up, the moment you stop looking for your passion, for your purpose.
I think like one of my, and sorry to cut you off, like one of my favorite Casey quotes is go do the thing like you know you don't want to do.
Yeah.
You know, he was always like, when he was like a dishwasher or whatever, he was like, I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I was fucking washing dishes all the time.
Yeah.
Like go do something that's going to like piss you off and upset you, and you're going to know exactly what you'd rather do in that moment.
Ooh, that's good.
I also heard this one. It was a little bit of a different take on it, which I love that one. It was like that thing deep down that you think people are going to laugh at you for. That's the thing that you should be doing.
That's good.
I think Arnold said that too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. But I think it's important to not follow what everybody else is doing, because that's such an easy trap to get into, especially when you're raised in that kind of environment. I was, and you're Boston, right?
Yeah, about an hour and a half west of Boston. So
Did you have that kind of environment?
Kind of
Ish?
Yeah, kind of.
Maybe it's just a
like
Midwest
small,
thing.
It was a small town. Like most, if I go on Facebook right now, people are buying houses in our city, getting married,
Yeah.
having kids. Like it's very normal for people to just grow up in that environment and not ever leave.
Yeah, it's huge in the Midwest, as a lot of you guys know. So just not falling into that trap, and it falls back onto what you said about doing the thing that most people are going to make fun of you for, or just make you look weird. Because if everybody else is doing one thing and you separate yourself, you're going to look weird.
Yeah.
But you just gotta do what your gut tells you to do.
I love it.
Yeah.
Group episode 4, boys. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming through the content crib. We made it. We'll catch you guys next time. See ya!